Well, let's try that again. So I just recorded a video and did not have the microphone turned on. So here we are, re-recording. So what's up, guys? I'd like to talk about some stuff that the Pokemon Company International has implemented on their partnered vendors, as far as some limitations go, right? The story is from PokeBeach, at least the specific article that I'll be citing and maybe reading some excerpts of, but wanted to give credit where credit's due there. And before you guys bash me, I know the topic, this is kind of old. It's a few weeks old at this point, but um, after an accumulation of coming across things, whether it be social media or on media like PokeBeach's site, um, I see more and more things about maybe not direct, but could be considered indirect um, actions to um, restrict or reduce reselling, scalping, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and cite the article's headline here. It is the Pokemon Company International has banned sales of graded slabs and Japanese Pokemon Center products at events. So it's not just restricted to that. It also includes items over $1,000. So I imagine that could be sealed products. Obviously, any slabs because slabs are included as restricted, and raw cards even. Um, you know, I don't know, is the Gengar VMAX up there yet, Altart? You got the Umbreon, the Latias, Lovebirds, Gengar Pikachu, a bunch of different raw cards could be over $1,000, but it also includes most products from the Japanese Pokemon Center, including plush and TCG items. Now, that's the particular part I'd like to focus on because to me, that's saying like, hey, we don't want people coming in to the Pokemon centers, buying stuff, and then reselling them at events right in front of us, um, and reselling it at a higher value, right? We want those things to go to those who actually want to keep the item, whether it's a collector or just a fan of Pokemon that wants the plushes or that kind of thing. And TCG, for collectors or people who actually play the competitive card game. So, it's interesting that the Pokemon Company um, is interjecting here, right? They're seeing the craziness going on in the secondary market. Uh, you have to live on a different planet to not be aware of how crazy things are as far as the secondary market and reselling and all that stuff goes in the Pokemon world. And so, um, and being involved in that myself, I don't particularly buy things from retail locations and resell them. I work with suppliers from overseas, or I work with other businesses that have distribution, and I, procure inventory that way. Um, Not the most cost effective way, but that's the only way I can really get my hands on English product, of any decent quantity, right? And it is a little bit more expensive. So, I see firsthand secondary market becoming more expensive. And right when we have that kind of system and people buying up stuff in the retail space just to sell them or just to resell them for a profit, it makes it very difficult. It makes it very difficult for people to come into the hobby, whether it be kids that are just learning about it and interested from that standpoint, or it's people who maybe collected or grew up with Pokemon and wanted to get back into it. Now that they have a little more discretionary income, they're working full time and all that. Whatever space you came in at the Pokemon in all the different eras, right? Um, I just think Pokemon Center, it's a great thing for the hobby overall that the Pokemon Company International um, is actually doing things um, to kind of step in, right? Limited stuff over $1,000. Like they don't want to become associated with the idea that Pokemon is so financially burdensome to be able to get into that it's just not worth it, right? Because if that's what people start associating with it, then it's hard for them to continue to grow. It's hard to get new people into the hobby, and it's hard to retain people in the hobby, right? People who have been in it for years, or even like just the past decade, this is a totally new foreign area to be in as far as how expensive everything is. And then the fact that despite Pokemon printing billions, I think it said like 10 billion cards, the Pokemon Company printed last year, despite printing that much, it still is not keeping up with demand. Um, Demand outweighs supply, continues to do it every new set. It seems like every new set, to an extent, keeps getting more expensive. Um, if you're comparing apples to oranges, right? You know, taking out of the mix things like Ascended Heroes and Prismatic, those sorts of, the high class sets in Japanese and, special sets in English there. Those sets perform very differently from a value standpoint. But what we're seeing is unprecedented, um, and I think it's interesting. This is the first formal action I'm seeing them take, but also we see some new things like Target. I've heard, cutting the packaging or cutting the plastic wrap on products to deter or diminish um, the demand of people reselling. And that way, if you're already there because you want to buy it and you want to rip it and open the packs and all that, it's like it doesn't make any difference if the plastic's cut, right? And then I've seen things about um, I believe it's in Japan, where they're cutting packs, like cutting corners of packs where there's a little bit of an opening, and essentially prevents people from um, reselling, right? From scalping, whatever you want to call it. I know scalping has a more negative connotation. Um, my particular definition, I think I defined it on another video here, but or a previous video, is essentially people that have absolutely no interest in the hobby itself, really, or maybe they even have mild interest in the hobby. However, they intentionally go in to buy things at retail, which essentially prevents other people who want to actually collect or open and hold on to the item for their own personal use, not for resale. Takes it away from them and just to try to make a profit. Okay, just trying to make a quick buck. Um, that's not good for any hobby, obviously, right? Because it makes product more scarce for people who are truly into the brand, the product, TCG, whatever it might be. And I think it's really crappy to have a market be so saturated with people that are in here just trying to make a buck for that. Um it's just wild. It's like if they put as much effort, you see some of these guys, some of these scalpers out there, they put that much effort into like actually opening or starting a legitimate business, and they would hustle as much as they do just to be able to get retail price or MSRP price product. If they did that and focused it on developing actual other skills or opening a business and all that kind of stuff, they could set themselves up for something that would sustain them for decades and maybe their entire life. Instead of coming in while Pokemon's hot, getting stuff, flipping it, and then just moving on. I mean, that's not as sustainable. It's not repeatable. Because once the market goes back down and people aren't even willing to pay MSRP on the shelves, you know, those people will be far gone, into something else, whatever the next hot thing is. Um, Another thing I just wanted to touch on that is related to that is that with how hot the secondary market is, in the article it mentions that they met a what they call an enterprising 11-year-old who had taken over an abandoned vendor booth to sell cards. And according to him, he just bought product from Pokemon vending machines at MSRP, and he's never played the games. He's never watched the show. He doesn't really know much about Pokemon, and he just flips cards. That's a quote. I just flip cards, he said. And he's learning it from what they call influencers, opening packs on TikTok and Instagram, calling it Pokemon cards the best investment right now. So I made this comment in the video that essentially will never see the light of day because it didn't have a microphone picking up the audio. But this is crazy. It's getting so bad that it's not just the typical stereotype scalpers. We've got 11-year-olds now that are coming into it literally just because the monetary side of it. That's not, my opinion is that Pokemon Company doesn't want that at all to be the picture being painted, right, of what the Pokemon Company's about, and have the Pokemon brand associated with people just flipping it and for investments and that kind of thing. If you're opening Pokemon cards or you're buying sealed packs as investments, and I say sealed packs as in like individual packs, not like ETBs and that kind of stuff. Those, yes, you certainly can buy sealed ETBs, like sealed premium collections or UPCs, booster boxes, those sorts of things. Absolutely, have shown that they are a viable investment. However, if you're going to open cards or just individual packs, or just buy individual packs to have them sealed, not really a viable investment strategy. And opening packs to think you can be profitable is a fool's errand. You're going to learn real quick that doesn't work. But yeah, just wanted to hop on here and talk about some of those big points mentioned in the article about them, um, you know, prohibiting slabs, items over $1,000, and Japanese Pokemon Center products, to essentially say, hey, like, we don't want you all scalping at our events. We don't want vendors who are making it seem like this is an exclusive hobby and super expensive and only dealing in the high end stuff, because we don't want that to be the image that is associated with the Pokemon brand. So, um, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think this is a step in the right direction. Let me know if you guys have any ideas of what else the Pokemon Company can do to deter scalping and maybe help alleviate some pressure on the hobby and make it not so crazy in the secondary market. Yeah, so appreciate you guys watching. Follow us here. We're on TikTok, Scroll Rips as well, and Instagram. Appreciate you guys watching and appreciate all the support. Yeah. See you guys next time.